If we want to miss the class, then what? Sorry? Oh, okay, okay. It's a good thought. That's an interesting thought, yeah. Two. Yeah, I think two classes, and then Swamiji's the Guru Dakshina, he will take some time to do that, so we need the time for that. I think Saturday is not a good day to come. Okay, the other thing is that today, as we were discussing, we will leave, today's will be a very short class. At 5:45, we will move over to the Dayanandji's kutia, and I think it's a good thing to, I'll explain to you what went on, how did it all get started. It was right in that building. And so it'll be interesting for you to do. And also do the puja, see the puja for Swamiji. So that will be good to do. So we will leave here shortly before 4:45, because the puja starts at 4:45. Okay. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So what we were discussing in the last class, so even before resuming what I was discussing, I want to make one point. And this is also a very important point that you should note down. I'm hoping you are going to keep a separate list of important points. I think almost everything is important, but there should be some kind of a separate point. What is said in the study of Vedanta is that what really delivers the goods for you, what you want to achieve, this is what is called Purushartha. Purushartha is an important word. Purushartha means Purushanam arthyate iti Purushartha. What is really desired? Because at the back of our life's struggles, our life's, not struggles, just the life's journey. Forget about struggles, but just the journey. It is a journey. And the journey has a purpose. We should understand what it is that I really want to, what am I really I'm seeking. And the fact of the matter is, this is what our acharyas say, that we don't know. It is kind of like sleepwalking. I've never experienced that in our family, anybody, but there it happens. Yeah, people are sleepwalking. They are walking, but in a dream-like thing. Amazing. So essentially, this is what we are doing. We're wandering around, just sleepwalking, trying out different things, finding, okay, this is, so there's several parts to it. One is that we are trying out different things. The other one is that we're not sure where we're going. There's a Western saying that you may have heard of, which is interesting, which says, life is a bitch, and then we die. This was really an interesting one. Life is a bitch, and then we die. You know, this is really a true assessment of what our life is. We're all struggling, something, this or the other. I mean, just last month, one of our closest friends passed away, Shaku Nagpal. And I've known Ram and Shaku for the last 50 years, our longest friends, long time. And she just passed away. And if you examine her life, she was a physician and worked very hard at her profession, was very interested in accumulating money, which she did. She made good money, invested wisely, lived well, and she kept working. And so we say, Shaku, aren't you going to retire? She says, I will, but I don't know. I don't know how I will feel. I'm just going to keep working and so on. And then she retired. And late, very late, in her 70s, I think. And she's also not only a good friend, but a next door neighbor, practically a next door neighbor, about four or five doors down. And then I saw her taking a walk and taking walks on our road and staring at birds and enjoying them. She said, I never heard birds in my life. I never realized that our area had birds. Within a year of her retirement, she developed a very severe lung disease and died last month. And she's gone. She's gone from her family's life. Her husband is resumed. He remembers her, but he's busy leading a new life. Has not really accomplished she was not sure what she could do. And she's gone. Now she's going to start all over again somewhere. This is exactly what our life is. We're not sure what we want to do, where we're going. And the worst part is that everybody else also doesn't seem to. You ask anybody, do you know where you're going? And they say, no, I don't know. I say, okay, good. That means both of us are all equally lost. So we are very comfortable in the fact that we are lost. Nobody comes out and says it, but the fact of the matter is that we really don't know what we're doing. But you know something? There is hidden behind this sleepwalking or not knowing what we're doing, we know what we want. And what we want is Purushartha. And Purushartha means, what do we really want? Purushanam eva arthyate iti, I'll add the word eva. Only that is needed. So this is what is called moksha, in the form of moksha. So what that means is, we lead a life of dependence. While not wanting dependence. We want independence, but we don't know how to be independent. So we are forced to live a life of dependence, at the same time yearning for independence. And it starts from the very beginning. You can see this in kids. I have one situation coming up very shortly. My youngest grandson just turned 13 months and he's barely standing up. He's not walking. A lot of my own wife and others are all saying, well, he should be walking by now. He's already 13 months. He's one of the heaviest people I've ever met. He's like 30 pounds. I cannot lift him for more than two minutes. He's the first Kapoor guy born with a hefty, the rest of us are all tall and thin. And he's also going to be very tall, but he is very, very big. And so therefore, he cannot yet start walking because he's going to be, pretty heavy guy. But within a month, he's going to start walking. And do you know what is going to happen? If you hold his hand, he would shake away. No child wants to be held once he knows how to walk. It's very dangerous to go on a street. You just cannot let go of them. And the very independence is our nature. We don't like dependence. One can only say, but I'm not really dependent. Oh, yes, you are. Can you go without food? Isn't that dependence? Every 4 or 5 hours, sometimes even less than that, we want more food. In India, this is a funny situation. I remember when my sister passed away, I went there recently, about year and a half ago. And it's a funny scene. I remembered this from my old days when my mother was alive. Even now, this same scene happened. People are having breakfast. So all her children, her grandchildren, we were about 8, 9 of us. And I was the only one that went from here. And so we are having breakfast. In our house, this is very unusual that in the ashram we are having 3 meals. Most of the time, I think we have just 2 meals because we don't have time or whatever. But in India, everybody has a big breakfast because there are a couple of domestic people who cook and they're all sitting there. While they're sitting there, the domestic helper says, so what should we cook for lunch? I'm sitting there and saying, I just want some breakfast. But the fellow has to get ready for lunch. And everybody is very participating. They'll say, I think we want masoor dal today. And somebody will say, okay, how about some this unusual sabzi? Anyway, that goes on and on. Then at lunchtime, the same thing happens. What should we cook for? We can't even we're depending on food every 5, 6 hours. Who can you say that we are independent? But you know what? Our nature is independence. That is the nature of the Atma. Complete independence. But we don't know it. Not knowing it, we just are dependent. So this is what is called Purushartha. This is what we really want. And until then, we are just searching. So really, at the end of the day, what we need to find is to ascertain exactly where we are going. This is what this teaching is all about. In doing so, the 2 types of praptis that we talked about become very relevant. What we feel in our life is, I am not completely done yet. I am not completely happy, but I will be if I do the following things. This is the nature of our quest. So, you know what that means? Our quest for happiness is an apraptasya prapti. Make a note of this. This is important stuff. Okay? The quest for happiness is in the bucket of, in the segment of apraptasya prapti. And our behavior, our focus, our actions are all consistent with apraptasya prapti. I don't have it now, and it's very obvious. You ask somebody, are you happy? And I interrupted my own thought by remembering for my Guru Swami Dayanandji's satsang one time. So in the year 2015, we had a big celebration of life for Swamiji that I had arranged. I don't know if many of you were there also. I know Lichi and others were there. And so someone had dug out an old video of a satsang, which I had forgotten about, but I saw that in the year 2015. In that satsang, and I'm also sitting there in the audience. It was in the 70s, somewhere in the 70s, so 50 years ago. In the satsang, there is a question to Swamiji. And the question is, Swamiji, I have some friends that I really would like to introduce to Vedanta, but they never seem to come to your classes. How do I make them come to your classes? This is the question. Swamiji says, okay, start a conversation with them and ask them, are you happy? And they'll say, yeah, I'm pretty happy. So tell me about yourself. How are you doing? He says, well, the thing is that my job is not very good. But, what can I do? Everybody has a job which is not the best they can do. So I'm not too happy with the job. Okay, good, that's good. So Swamiji says that, I forgot to do this. So Swamiji says, tell your friend, if you ask your friend, do you want to come to these Vedanta talks? And the person says, no, I don't want to go to the Vedanta talks. So Swamiji says, do not stop the conversation at that time. Don't go to another topic. Continue the conversation with him. Ask them, okay, you don't have to come to the conversation, but are you happy? Are you happy? Then the conversation will start. So the person will say, I'm pretty happy, but I'm not very happy with the job. Okay, that's good. Kids, my son, he's not doing very well in school. He keeps getting C's and I don't know what to do. He's so on and so forth. But other than that, everything is okay. Okay, anything else? My marriage is not the best. So this is what our situation is. Swamiji used to say that you would have a list of things that you want to accomplish if you want to be completely happy. You always have that. Okay, if I did this, then I will be. So this is a situation. This is very typical of all of us. You know what the underlying definition of this situation is? Apraptasya prapti. And in the apraptasya prapti, what is the main thing that you need to do? Karma. I need to do something. I need to change my situation. I need to change my homes. This is what is happening in our life now. We built this home 45 years ago. And I think Mala is wiser than we are. She changed her big home to a smaller and a wonderful single-story home. And she's done. but she's been wanting to do that. We haven't done it yet. So my wife and I have to decide to move into a smaller home. It's just getting to be too much for us. We need to do something. This is our life. We need to do something. If we did that, after that there'll be something else. Apraptasya prapti. Now comes the difference. So listen to this carefully. The example of my friend apparently losing his passport on the way to Tokyo is not an example of apraptasya praptihi. It is an example of praptasya praptihi. An acquisition of already acquired, but not known. Not known. It's very often happens. I don't have that much hair, so I don't have that problem. But those of you that have a lot of hair, you can put your glasses up on top of your head and forget it. And you start looking for glasses. Have you ever seen this? This is an example of praptasya prapti. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen as often. It's okay, it just seems to be it falling. But it's okay, I can adjust it. It's okay. It's not that only 20 minutes. So now listen, this is it. This is what Swami Akhandananda makes so clear. He says you are missing something. And what you're missing is an appreciation of your own self. Right? This is very obvious. This is the very message of Vedanta. That in your assessment of who you are, what you have, as a source of pleasure, as a source of more than pleasure, as a source of happiness, in that whole assessment you are missing one piece. Which is the strangest thing ever. How can we miss a piece that is me? This is where the 10th man example in Vedanta is most appropriate. And you know pretty much all of that, but I'll very quickly remind you of it in the context of this point that I'm making. So the story goes that at one time in a Gurukula, in some school near a raging water of a river in the Himalayas, there were a bunch of boys, because in Gurukula only the boys were studying, girls did not, they were only kept in the home, not given to a boarding school like this. It was kind of like an old style boarding school. So in the boarding school there were 10 boys ranging from 10 years to 18, 19. And they were all familiar with the river and were swimmers. So one spring day, the boys asked the Guru, "Can we please go out for swimming?" So the Guru said, no, I cannot, because 10 of you and I am very busy, I have to do something, teach some classes. No, you cannot take it. So he said, "Sir, please." So the older one said, "Sir, I'll take the responsibility. Okay, I will make sure that I'll keep everybody." So they said, okay. The Guru also made a concession and said, okay, do it. When they went there for swimming, the raging waters were very fierce, and even the boy who was the leader, he also was worried that I hope I made the right decision, getting all these kids and so on. But he said, what could you do? And though finally I think after about an hour of swimming and so on, And all this time he was worried. He was taking bath himself but not really enjoying it because he had this responsibility on his head. So at the end of this, he said, okay, everybody come in and it's all good. Let's dry our bodies and go. He starts to count and he can only count 9 people. And he says, oh my God, there were 10 of us and there's only 9 left. Oh my God. And he started crying. And as the story goes, there was a tree there and he banged his head on the bark of the tree and he started bleeding. And everybody else was crying. We've lost one person. And most interestingly, the thing is, they don't know who they have lost. They can't name that person who is lost, but they just think he is lost because it's very clear. We were starting with 10 and there are only 9. Then a wise person was walking by. He says, what's going on? Why are you guys so upset? So he says, sir, we can't tell you. This is just a very simple story. There were 10 of us and one of us has been lost. So the guy started counting. He said, there are 10 of you. He says, wait a minute. What's your problem again? He says, there were 10 of us and now there are only 9. And then he said, okay, I found the 10th person. I have found the 10th person. And so he was not this is what is called an Apta Purushaha. Apta Purushaha means a believable guy, not just a jokester and saying, and thus, but he was and he said, no, I have found him. So it is interesting parts of the story that have relevance to what our situation is. So then they at least started to dry their tears, but they haven't really become happy yet. They become somewhat less agitated, but they have not seen the true happiness. So the man says, okay, do the following thing to me. Line up next to this line, over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all line up. So he starts from one end, and the guy who's crying and so on is on the left. He says, okay, 1. Are you all with me? 1, 1. Are you all with me? 2, 2, 3, 4. You are the 10th man. And the guy said, oh my God. Just like my friend who found his passport. And the same thing we were asking Swami Dayanandji, how did it feel when he says, I felt foolish. I really felt foolish. He said that. He said, I felt embarrassed that I'm behaving like a limited person when I'm not. And so this guy was so embarrassed, and he just started laughing and so on and so forth. So I'll make one other point in a minute. In fact, I'll make that now and so on. So what that means is that a non-complete inventorying of who you are is responsible for your sorrow. And you are missing something. So one can say, how can I be sad if I am already what I am? But the fact of the matter is, there is something about yourself that if you don't understand, if I can use that word, hell breaks loose. Your life becomes sorrowful. This is a fact. Just by not knowing I am the one person who is missing. Believe me, this is the message of Vedanta. And in one other interesting point here, because this story is very, very nicely constructed, and this banging of the head on the bark of the tree and the blood and all that is very relevant. So what they say is that the understanding of the self comes in two stages. One is called paroksha jnanam and one is called aparoksha jnanam. Paroksha jnanam means knowledge, almost like a shraddha and a trust, but something which is not positive to yourself. And so the example in this 10th man story is when this wise person says, I have found the 10th man. This is called paroksha jnanam. This is called paroksha jnanam. It is jnanam in the sense that the person now says, okay, I believe you. And so his tears are now drier than before. So there is a cessation of, there is a diminishing of sorrow, but there is no joy yet. So the paroksha jnanam is like that. I hope your situation at the end of this week, I hope your situation at the end of the week will be aparoksha jnanam, but at least paroksha jnanam. Hopefully you will have some hope about where we are going, where you are going, what's happening, what needs to be done, what needs to be studied, and all of that. So there will be a diminishing of, I am not saying you have hopelessness now, but if you did, that will be gone. But you may not have aparoksha jnanam. Aparoksha jnanam comes in when someone live is to directly point out to you and say, my God, do you know who you are? Have you thought about it? This is what is called Mahavakya, the Tattvamasi. Without Tattvamasi, it is not possible to get Paroksha Jnana. And so this man, when he pointed out to him directly and said, you are the 10th man. There is no escaping this. There is no Shraddha, there is no maybe it will happen, maybe it will not. It does happen. And it will happen. So with that, Purushartha, that is the real Purushartha. Now in the Purusharthas, to close the loop of the whole thing, all these examples, in this Purushartha, what is the Purushartha? Is the discovery of the self as the missing piece. Because right now, the way we are all similar in that sense. We are oblivious of it. I know what I'm... So the happiness is not aparoksha, it is paroksha. It is apraptasya praptihi. Comes and goes. Comes and goes. And my actions for apraptasya prapti is appropriate to it is based on karma. What is said is, your purushartha is not apraptasya praptihi, it is praptasya prapti. This is the mistake that we are all making. We think we don't have the source of joy, but we don't know that we already are the source of joy. and I'm using my words carefully, it is not that you have the source of joy, you are the source of joy. You are the source of joy. My God, Swami Chinmayananda's example comes into my mind. I'm so blessed to be taught by such Mahatmas. Although this is, so many of these people, they just bring out examples which has come from the Shastra. It's the same Shastra, they are pulling it out, but they have had an occasion to pull out the example and give. But this one example, which is a bizarre example, was given by Swami Chinmayananda. He says, you know our situation is like, you give a dog a dry bone and he chews on the dry bone, and in the process of doing that, his mouth gets lacerated and blood starts to come out, and it starts to taste his own blood, and he enjoys it. I'm very sorry to say that is our situation. Very strange as it is, like this tota example, like the parrot example, this is exactly our situation. Whatever joy, as we will see this a little bit more systematically, we get, is not my joy, it is me. I am the one that is reflecting my joy. And we will see this. The Sat, the reality that I impose on other things, is my reality. The consciousness that I see in others is my consciousness. And the ananda that I see from others is my ananda. This is my mistake. The mistake of my not understanding myself. What I do is I convert praptasya praptihi into apraptasya praptihi. This is our situation. And in praptasya praptihi, what's most important, and this leads to the very first verse of the Kaivalya Upaniṣad. Very first verse. I was hoping to really do it, but I decided to spend some more time. It's almost time to go. In praptasya praptihi, what is the most important thing? Jnanam. What is secondary is karma. Could be bhakti. It could be anything else. But the primary is jnanam. In apraptasya praptihi, the primary is karma. The secondary is jnanam. The secondary is bhakti. But karma is primary in apraptasya praptihi. But in praptasya prapti, you are always what you are. There's nothing to do. You're not going anywhere. You should discover who you are now. This is the message of Advaita Vedanta. So we'll continue that tomorrow. Om Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.